An international sports team playing at the highest level went from winning about 5% of their games to winning 70% of their games over a similar 18-month to 2-year period. The squad of players changed little. They got a new captain, although he'd been playing for the team for years. What really changed was the coach and, most importantly, the mindset. Simply put, the coach and the captain have taken away the fear of failure, and now they rarely fail. In fact, they've not just become winners, but an inspiration. Has the last word on coaching sports teams been written? Is this the way to manage any team, in sport, in work, anywhere? This is the story of and the life lessons from the England cricket team and Bazball. I'm Mike Harlow.
I'm Tim Woodward, and welcome to Custard Creams. 2 Brits, a cup of tea, a biscuit, and the best of music, sport, TV and film, and all popular culture, now and then.
In this first episode, we're going to look at what has happened. It's the story of a cricket team, but it could be the story of any sports team, any team, in fact, in any walk of life. And then in episodes 2 and 3, we're going to look at why it's worked, and then can you apply it to anything? So let's start, Tim, with what has happened.
Right, what's happened, Mike? Well, Bazball, as the name suggests, is named after someone called Baz. That Baz is Brendan McCullum. Brendan McCullum is a New Zealand cricketer and coach. He came in and joined England in June 2022. So he was an international cricketer, successful one, a successful international captain, a successful coach in the Indian Premier League as well. He came in to join England when England were on the floor in terms of their mental approach to Test cricket. We'd been thumped by Australia in a Test series in the lead up to the appointment 4-0. We'd lost in the West Indies when we tried to reset things. And although we'd done really well in one-day cricket, the 50-over cricket, and been world champions, we needed a real change. In comes Brendan McCullum, whose nickname is Baz. He tries to change things in terms of how the team play their cricket. And he, along with a new captain, because Joe Root resigns, Ben Stokes, our leading all-rounder and swashbuckler, gets the role of captain. And a guy called Rob Key becomes the head of the England Test team. And we become tremendously successful. I think, if you break it down, the win percentage that they've achieved, the run rate, the amount of runs that team scores, the wickets they take, the approach they have to everything just changes dramatically, and the team perform dramatically differently as well.
The things that they have done differently, I think, is principally around mindset, isn't it? So a really interesting and important piece of context here is that Ben Stokes went, the captain himself went through some tough times. It was the right captain with the right coach, because he was thinking it's all about making people feel comfortable, safe in a sporting environment. And I think that's really difficult, actually. Plenty of the players talk about how it's the greatest privilege to play for your country, but really tough because you are constantly worried about how you're performing and whether you're going to get picked for the next game or not. I think the basic philosophy of Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes is, how can I stop that getting in the way of how you perform? How can I make you feel safe, even though you may not get picked for the next match, which I think is something really interesting to get into. But how can I make you feel comfortable and able to perform at your best? And they have done that extremely well. Because the same squad of players has gone from performing okay to performing extraordinarily well, and in a way that is really entertaining. Their matches that they thought you can't win this, they kept going and going and going, and they have won them or very narrowly lost them. Tell us a bit about what Brendan McCullum's philosophy was on coaching, because I think in his interview he said it's something really straightforward and really simple, which is an advert for good interviewing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his interview was extremely relaxed. I think he was in a baseball hat and a T-shirt. He had 3 rules, I think, essentially for fielding. He said you've got to chase the ball to the boundary and never give up and chase the ball hard. I think when it came to bowling, it was about always trying to take wickets. And when it came to batting, it was about placing the pressure on the other team and absorbing the pressure when you need to. But it was very simple. It was short. It was understandable. It wasn't stats. And I think what they said was really impressive. Is it wasn't KPIs and a PowerPoint presentation and I suppose management gobbledygook nonsense. It was really simple, but he also had a higher purpose because I think one of his main selling points was he wanted to do this for Test cricket, and it wasn't about whether he was going to win. And the one thing he didn't say is, this is how I'm going to win the Ashes against Australia, or this is how I'm going to beat India. It was about, this is how we're going to make Test cricket great again, and this is how we're going to make England a great Test cricket side as well. So he definitely had integrity and a higher purpose than just wanting to win the next game.
What is it that we like about sport? If our team wins all the time, actually, are we enjoying it? If you look at Formula One, you could support the Red Bull as it is at the moment, who keep winning everything. But actually, after a while, you realize you're missing something. You're getting a minor joy out of winning, but you're missing something, which is the drama, the peril, the chance. The winning against all the odds. That's what's fantastic about sport, and that's why I think his philosophy is bang on the money. And in order to allow that to happen, you've got to stop people from fearing failure. So, who in the team has benefited from this? Because it's also about the individual players, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you could probably say largely all of them. I mean, there have been some players, I think, who don't fit his mould. Has hugely helped people like Johnny Bairstow, who was always a free spirit, often got criticised for being a free spirit. He's exploded. Obviously, Stokes himself fits the model perfectly because he's an explosive, exciting cricketer. But, people like Zach Crawley, a player who has taken a long time to make big runs. He had a very big innings early on, and he had a massive innings during the Ashes, but they've stuck with him, and they've given him that confidence that you're not going to be dropped in the next game, because we believe in you. So he's another one who's really, but even the bowling side as well. Mark Wood, the really fast bowler, had a really good Ashes and bowled incredibly quickly. Again, you feel the brakes are off a bit with players like that. And they all seem happier. Root seems happier. Root obviously had to resign as captain, but he looks unburdened. He looks lighter. He'll come in now and do a reverse sweep, which is just a very technically difficult shot on his first ball.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that people think they've lost the fear of failure being the overwhelming driver, and it's been replaced by a desire to almost go and show what you can do. And we don't care if we lose. We're not going to be driven by the fear of losing as the primary concern.
Now, well, at least initially, it did not go down brilliantly with everybody, did it? Because saying I have no fear of failure to a lot of ears sounds like I don't care if we lose. And that, particularly up against enemies, I use that word deliberately, like Australia, is not good enough. But I know, I heard Jonathan Agnew, who is a well-known commentator, I suggest quite conservative in his approach to cricket, himself said the other day, I love to have played in this team. I love to have been captained by Ben Stokes and coached by Brendan McCullum, because I'd have enjoyed it so much. And I think that getting to that point and getting people on your side has not been easy, because they've had to take a lot of people, a lot of doubters, who I think have suggested this is somehow, playground, schoolboy type approach to sport, not serious, not international level professionalism, but it's worked.
Yeah.
So I think in the next episode, we're going to talk about why it's worked.